I'm going to do a boxing and review of this Canon Vixia HF R800 video camera. And the reason I bought this was I needed something for my vlogging that was a little bit more robust than just a camera on a phone. And I didn't want to put my passcode in so many times. Let's take a look at some of the features and why I bought this. So we got a USB cable and a DC power supply, and note that this is a proprietary plug. And I knew that going in, but I'm going to be real careful with it and try not to damage it. But what I really liked about this was this big battery. And if you look at some of the competition, they have a real tiny battery and it just doesn't look like it's going to hold up, but this one looks pretty good. The battery lasts about 20 or 30 minutes longer than the Sony Handycam that I was looking at. And the last thing in the box is an HDMI cable. Alright, now this camera is really small. I'm not sure it's going to be even too small. No, actually, let's see. That looks pretty good. I'll loosen that up a little bit. My hands are pretty big. And so, going off camera here for a second while I get this adjusted. Now the battery pack sits right on the back, and I don't really like the looks of that, but I knew that going in before I bought it. It's got a shutter to protect the lens at the front, and then it's got a nice swivel display. And the great thing about it is that sometimes I'm out in the shop shooting videos and I can't see what's going on, and now I have the ability to put the screen toward me. And a lot of cameras have that, and I think that's a feature that's just really a must-have. Let's talk about zoom a little bit. Digital zoom to me is not as important as optical zoom. And so this has a 32 times optical zoom and a 57 time advanced zoom on the side here is what it's listed. Not sure what they mean by advanced zoom. It's probably digital, but I do know what 32 optical is. And so that's important because that zoom is in the actual lens itself, and you're not manipulating the image, you're doing it optically through the lensing system. Now, looking at the general features, one thing that's incredibly important for me was this mic input. And not all video cameras have that, and I made a special point of researching one that did, because I intend to put various mics on this. I might use my Yeti, I might use a lapel mic, or another type of mic, and I want to make sure that I can do that so that I'm not forced to do that through the video editing software by syncing from another device. Now on the bottom you've got a standard screw thread to work on a tripod, and that's how we're going to mount the mic if I do one that's attached to the camera itself. There is a headphone jack, and that's for audio auditing. You can listen to it while it's recording. We've got an HDMI out and the USB in. Now the proprietary power is right here. So let's plug that in and get that starting to charge, and we can take a look at some more features. All right, so I've got the power cord out, and it looks like it's about 5 feet long. So that's a little on the shorter side. You're going to have to be careful if you're doing recording with it plugged in so that you don't get too far away from your power source. Okay, so we're getting a power indicator, and it is starting to charge. So let's go ahead and fire this up and see what we look like. So here's the setup, and we're going to go ahead and we'll select English because that's what I'm doing. And that is not the right date. Well, that's the date format. That's fine. So today is October the 1st. Setup is complete. Well, that is pretty easy. No memory card. Let me go get the memory card. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. The camera does not come with a memory card. I did not buy a bundle. I just bought the bare bones camera. So I'm going to use an SD card. I've got a 16 gigger here, and we'll put that in. Cannot read, cannot record on this memory card. Well, that's a problem. Okay, so I got a problem here that I'm going to try and solve. I'm using an SD card that I've just been using to store data, and when I plug it in, I'm getting an error. So the problem is that I cannot record on this memory card. So if you look in the manual, they say you need to initialize the memory card, but they don't really say how. So anyway, we're going to try and get this going. I'm going to press the home button, and then the tools over here. Now over on the right, there's a gear icon, and we're going to scroll down, and there is initialize SD. So that should do the trick, and it is a 16 gig. I'm going to go ahead and initialize, and it'll erase everything, and I've got some stuff on there that can be erased, so that's no problem. And press OK. So let's see if we can get this to work now. Come out of here. So now it is recording. Awesome. So with that solved, let's move on to some other features and see what we can do with this camera. Now, one of the features that is required for me personally is a time-lapse feature. And when I read the reviews, I had someone say, yeah, you can do it, and then someone else said, no, you can't. Well, you actually can. I think the person that said you can't was confused. So let's go into the functions here of the recording speed. And what they've done is they have hid this, or they have renamed it as slow and fast motion. And so we want to go ahead and set the speed of how we want to do this. And here it is right here. Like if you have a x2 or times 2, that means that in a 2-minute real-time scene, you can condense that down to a minute. If you do 4x, that'd be 4 minutes of real-time condensed to a minute. So this is your time-lapse function. And now you can choose how many minutes of coverage you want to do in a 1-minute interval. And keep in mind that these are intervals. It doesn't mean you can only do 20 minutes. It just means this is the rate that it is going to record at. So you can do it all the way up to 20 hours in 1 minute. So that's pretty impressive. It's pretty flexible. And I can't wait to try that because that is just something that I love to do. It's now time to take this out in the field and give it a try and see how it works. This first one is the 32 times optical zoom, and I'm standing about 25 feet away from this pomegranate. As you can see, it's got a really good range and it holds the image pretty well with its image stabilization. Let's try another subject like this palm tree, which is approximately 150 to 200 feet away. Now as I zoom in, you can see some pretty good detail, and the image stabilization is holding the camera view pretty steady. Now if this camera didn't have image stabilization, this would be very difficult to shoot, but it was really pretty easy with it right out of the box. So in summary, this is a pretty good camera for $200. It has a lot of features like image stabilization, a good optical zoom range, a very good battery, and it does have some compromises, such as that it has no dedicated charger. But that's a pretty small price to pay for what you get out of the camera, like a really long run time and good optical zoom. So I hope you found this helpful, and if you liked it, please give me a thumbs up, and I sure would appreciate it if you'd subscribe to my channel.